I am 24 female and my husband is 28. I just graduated with a degree in finance when we got married. And he is a young lawyer determined to take the world by the horn. He was well on his way to make a name for himself in the law industry. His dream is to open his own law firm and he is only 2 years away from being a partner at the firm he was working. The two of us were a perfect match because we knew what we wanted from life and were determined to get it. A few months after marriage, I got my dream job at an elite investment bank. It was always there for me but was only a matter of time. I went to one of the best schools in the country and I had the brains to hold my own. Apart from that, I did an internship with them and had the medal to show it. I wasn't fully paid but I stayed to create network and relationships with people who matter and could speak on my behalf. It was those people who called my name at the high table for me to get the job. It was a lucrative job but demanding. I had a husband who understood me because he was also in a demanding professional field. It is a male-dominated industry and I made it a point not to date any man in my line of work, which is one of the reasons I married my husband. A year later, we were drifting apart. I saw it and brought it to his attention. It looks like our individual profession has taken the center stage in our union. We care more about our work than building this marriage. When was the last time we sat and talked? When was the last time we went out as a couple? When was the last time we had fun? We leave early in the morning and come late in the evening. You get home and get busy with your books. There's always one case you have to learn about. It's the same with me. I come home late and knackered. All I want is to sleep. No time to consciously build what we have. He agreed with me but thought it wasn't anything we should worry about. I thought it was something we should worry about if indeed we treasure the marriage. So, we started working on it. We made a conscious effort to be home early, whatever early means to us. When we got home, we made a conscious attempt to talk about our day and interact for at least 2 hours before we go to bed. During the day, we texted each other when we couldn't call. We brought awareness into the marriage, and it was working. It was during that period that I got pregnant. He was happy but I didn't know what to think about it because it was going to slow my progress at work. In the end, I got pulled into the emotions and became happy regardless. I gave birth in 2016. It was a boy. A boy he named after himself. We hired a nanny to help around with the kid. The cracks started showing right when I got pregnant. It got deepened after the baby was born. For all the months I was pregnant, my husband did not give me a penny as a way of helping me pay medical bills or buy drugs when I needed to. I visited hospitals often and told him what happened and what I was asked to buy. He didn't bother to know. I paid for everything. When I gave birth and was discharged, he didn't bother to ask how much I owed in medical bills. I paid for everything. All he did was come to the hospital and take me home. In the house, he didn't bother about baby things. All he did was give the weekly housekeeping allowance without factoring in the needs of the baby. I didn't talk. He lived life as though we were still 2 people in the family. I resumed work and the nanny took over the care of the baby during the day. A few months later, I decided to bring those issues to the table. The nanny had worked in the house for 3 months and I was the one paying her. I told him, our financial burdens are not the same as when we were only 2 people in this house. We have a baby. We have a nanny. They both come with their own financial burdens, but you don't do anything about that. Since pregnancy, it has always been me. Please start doing your bit financially. I can't always be the one. He didn't object to any of the issues raised, so I thought he had consented to do something. The month ended. A week later, the nanny came to ask for her salary. I said, "You haven't been paid?" For a whole week? When my husband came, I asked him. He said he forgot. He told me he didn't have enough on him that day so I should pay her, and he'll pay me back the following day. He never paid back. We had a sit-down talk again where we split the financial burdens. Everything was clear from that day. He knew what was in his care and I knew mine. In fact, we split everything down the middle. When it got to the time to make payments, this man pretended he hasn't seen money all his life. We were always talking about the same money issues until I got tired. I was the one paying for everything in the house. If he had to pay something, we had to fight for days before he decides to part with money. Our child started going to school and I thought school fees would be one thing he would be proud to pay. He chose the school. On the first day, he drove the kid to school. He paid fees and paid for books and everything. I got the impression that he was going to continue. The following term he pushed everything back to me. My child's forms in the school had my details, so I was the one the teachers were calling for fees and whatever our child was owing. It got embarrassing for me, so I started paying for that too. We fought a lot and I even threatened to send him to child support. I didn't understand why a man who has a good job would refuse to take care of his own child. Whenever we fought about something, he would start doing it for a while and later stop. In the evening when he wanted to get intimate, he would climb on me and take it however he wanted it. I couldn't stand his irresponsibility towards the family, so I started reporting him to his own family. They spoke to him, but he never changed. At one of such meetings, he told his family, but she has a good job and she's paid very well. What is wrong with it if she pays the fees of our child? I got infuriated, so I told him my mind right there. I told his parents, if it continues like that, I will have no option but divorce because I don't see the need of having a husband who doesn't do husband things. One day we fought. He said harsh things to me. He said I should be grateful to have a man like him in my life, because many women my age are begging men to marry them so they could be with someone, but they don't get it. You should be grateful because it's not all rosy out there. Don't you work? Don't you receive a salary? What is wrong if you take care of some few things around here? After we had that argument, he lowered my self-esteem and pushed me to focus more on work. I am normally a strong person, but that cut me deep, especially when it comes from someone that's supposed to love you. I decided to stay at work later than I should. That caught the interest of one of my male work colleagues that had a thing for me from the start, but I have been pushing him away. My husband's words and his refusal to be a dependable husband drove me closer to my coworker. One day after work, we went out to grab some food. I told the babysitter that I would be home late. We went to a lounge together and we started talking. Our conversation became private. I told him about the problems with my marriage and he listened and said the right things. I felt comfortable with him and the fact that we were both in the same profession made our conversation easier. After we were done at the restaurant, he invited me to come to his place and we made love. I later felt bad after, but deep inside he made me happy. We started seeing each other more often. He was single and almost the same age as me and I was comfortable around him. Then we decided that we should take our relationship to the next level because I was not happy with my husband. Few weeks later I served my husband with divorce papers. He looked shocked. He stared at my face for several seconds without saying a word. I said, "Yeah, you leave me with no option. I'm taking care of everything around here. I want to continue doing it without you in the frame." Even at that point, he thought I was just blowing hot air. By the time he realized the whole thing was serious and sent people to apologize, I had already moved on and was thinking of life with my new boyfriend. No amount of persuasion could sway me. I was paying the rent, so I asked him to move out. When he tried to resist and fight me, I reported him to the police. To save the little grace he had left, he grudgingly packed his things and left. The only property we had between us was a piece of land we contributed to buy. For years I nagged him for us to start something on it, but he kept postponing. During the divorce, he said he bought the land. I didn't fight it. I said, all I want is to escape from this. He can have everything, I don't care. He got but hurt when he realized that I have moved on with my new boyfriend, so he dragged on the divorce, and it lasted almost a year, but, in the end, we got a divorce. His responsibility towards the child was spelled out. More than a year later, after the divorce, he has never defaulted. He even paid the amount before the end of the month. During that time, I have moved in with my boyfriend. I didn't want to have a child with my boyfriend till we get married, so I was on the pill. Few months later, he proposed to me, and we got married. After marriage, we started trying to have another baby. My ex-husband was coming to my house when my husband wasn't home to visit his son. He would help the kid do his homework, hang around for a while, and later leave. Sometimes he would come to pick him up and they would spend the weekend together. All that while, he was asking for us to get back together again. I chuckled at the thought of it. Me? Come back to you? For what exactly? All I want from you is what you're doing now, and it's sufficient unto me. Moreover, you should respect that I have a husband now and move on. One day he came to pick up our son, my husband wasn't home. He started going on about us getting together again and I turned him down. I kicked him out of the house, but he came back because there was heavy snow and hails falling. He had a small car, and I didn't want him and my son to get into an accident, so I allow him to wait it out at my house. I don't know what happened. We were both in the living room and the power went out. Maybe it was the moment. Maybe it was familiarity, or it was me appreciating that he was doing what I have been longing for him to do, which is to take care of his responsibility. I was lying on the sofa when he rushed to me and started touching me. Honestly, I didn't fight it. Whatever would happen happened and he left. We never spoke about what happened. I only told him, don't come around again. If you want him, we can meet at the park, or I will drop him off. 1 month later, I'm pregnant, and I didn't know if it belongs to my husband or my ex-husband. I feel guilty about it. I felt like my world was falling about. How do I explain this to anyone? I told my husband and he assumed that it was his. By then I have been divorced for 2 years from a man that destroyed what we had. Now I cheated on my caring husband with the guy that destroyed our marriage. Where does this happen? I had 2 options available to me. To get rid of it or have it. Both choices come with consequences that would be very hard for me to carry. I think about it, and I break down and cry. How did I allow him to do this to me? To put me in such a difficult situation? One thing I know for sure is that I don't want to fool my husband and have him raise another man's baby. And I don't want to go back to my ex-husband. He had had enough of me and it's all I can give. 9 months later, I gave birth to another boy that looked just like my other boy. I have no doubt in my mind that he belongs to my ex-husband, but I see how much my current husband loves him and it melts my heart. Everything seems to be going peaceful, my husband is very supportive and a good provider, my career is doing well, and I am very happy. I am the only one that knows this secret. Ironically, having another child made my ex-husband to stop his advances toward me, because he realizes that I was actually gone for good, but what he doesn't know is that I just had another one of his child.
If you have lived in this world long enough, you would understand that women and children are loved unconditionally, but men are loved on the condition that they can provide. And this story is a prime example of that. It's very rare in our society to see a man that is loved unconditionally. Before you pass judgment on the man and call him a deadbeat, know that there's always 2 sides of the story. Let's go on a thought loop for a second and imagine that the gender was reversed. Then it will be completely normal. If the genders are reversed, then it will be called the modern day marriage, where the man provides financially and very little is expected from the woman financially. You wouldn't see a man filing for divorce because his wife is not bringing enough to the household. If that ever happens, that will be very, very rare. But as a man, if you fail in your financial responsibility in your household, she will start looking for your replacement. Well, she doesn't really need to find your replacement because your replacement is already there. Because around 50% of women in relationship have a backup partner in mind in case they separate from their current partner. The reason why the marriage in this story fell apart was because the man failed to understand that marriage is transactional. The money she makes belongs to her, and his money belongs to the family. There is no equality in marriage. The whole argument about man and woman equality always comes to play when it benefits the woman. I can hear some of you already typing saying that your marriage is the special one, the unicorn. But the truth is that most marriage, if not all marriages, are transactional. Even those of you that think that their marriage are the exception. I will read a post from one of my subscribers that summed up the story. When I was working every day, providing for my family, and giving all they wanted, I was loved. Then I was in an accident that left me in a wheelchair with years of pain and discomfort. 27 years of marriage meant nothing anymore. In just 2 years after my accident, my wife stepped out and screwed another man and another. She needed dick, and mine no longer works. I am reminded daily how I was a burden, and she's busting her behind at work and at home. The list goes on and on. But yes, it's very true. Men are only loved for how hard they pull the plow, and like a broken down horse, those that love you, in quotation, are the one that pulls the